Good morning. Welcome to NBC Nightside. I'm Tom Miller. The Summit of the Americas enters its third and final day. We'll tell you what has happened so far. Once they were mortal enemies, and now they shake hands and smile together. We'll bring you the reaction to Arafat, Rabin, and Perez sharing the Nobel Peace Prize. And American Eagle's Chicago commuters are put out with the grounding of its ATR planes. But first, the latest developments at the conference underway in Miami. Today is the last day of the Summit of the Americas conference in Miami. Leaders of 34 nations in the Western Hemisphere are attending, and they've agreed to establish a free trade zone to stretch all the way from Alaska to Argentina. They have set the year 2005 as the deadline for an agreement. NBC's Sandy Gilmore has more from Miami.
Meeting in Miami's ornate Villa Vizcaya Museum, President Clinton and his 33 guests agreed to negotiate a free trade zone for the entire Western Hemisphere by the year 2005. From Canada to Argentina, taxes and other restrictions on imports and exports would be cut. With American voters in mind, Clinton claimed the deal would mean better jobs at home.
We believe the agreement we have made today to launch the free trade area of the Americas will produce more jobs, higher incomes, and greater opportunities for all of our people.
Officials said the leaders agreed to a timetable and that big nations will help smaller, poorer ones who fear the increased job competition. The leaders raised hands in solidarity, but some objected to early language on other agreements, including plans to attack the drug trade and money laundering, along with worker rights and environmental laws. There was disagreement, too, on the Cuba issue. Tens of thousands of Cuban exiles demanded the summit leaders work to free Cuba from communism, an issue that had not been on the agenda. But many leaders oppose any kind of intervention to restore democracy, including the military action in Haiti. But they did agree on programs to preserve democracy in their own countries. Sandy Gilmore, NBC News, Miami.
And the leaders are to sign the agreements later today. First Lady Hillary Clinton joined with the wives of other summit leaders in a symposium on issues involving children within the hemisphere and how to improve their lives. Mrs. Clinton told her counterparts that half of the population of the Americas is under 25 and that many of them share the problems of drug abuse, teen pregnancy, and violence. The women who attended the forum agreed their governments need to put more emphasis on basic education and health care. U.S. Border Patrol agents in San Diego have been given the money and the manpower to do something effective to stop illegal immigrants from coming across the border. They've launched a program called Operation Gatekeeper. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell reports.
Operation Gatekeeper, just 2 months old, and it's already working.
He went right into this bushy area.
Border Patrol agents in San Diego say illegal crossings have dropped 40% since Gatekeeper started. Arrests have fallen from 58,000 in October and November of last year to 41,000 for that same period this year.
The word went out that it's going to become much more difficult to cross the border in San Diego, and I think that we're having a deterrent effect.
At a cost of about $20 million, Gatekeeper provides more agents and equipment along a 14-mile stretch between the U.S. and Mexico, where the most illegal crossings occur. To define the border, a 12-foot steel fence was installed, stretching right into the Pacific Ocean. And new high-powered lighting floods the area at night. Gatekeeper has added 4 new infrared cameras and 220 extra officers.
It should be 2 groups. There are a group of 5.
Now agents have state-of-the-art night vision. Short on office space, they're working out of a broom closet.
The idea of Gatekeeper here is to apply enough pressure to the San Diego area to move the alien traffic to the east and into the rural areas.
Moving people east takes them farther away from where they can find transportation, leaves them exposed in open areas longer, and gives officers a better chance of making arrests. That strategy may be driving illegals outside Gatekeeper's territory. In Nogales, Arizona, border arrests have gone up by 1/3. Those taken into custody in San Diego face Gatekeeper's electronic fingerprinting. The computer tracks identities and how many times a suspect has crossed illegally.
He's been had 4 times.
Agents say this early success proves it's possible to reduce the flow of illegal border crossings. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, San Diego.
There was panic in Mexico City Saturday when a strong earthquake off the Pacific coast sent people rushing out of swaying buildings. The quake registered 6.3 on the Richter scale and damaged buildings in Mexico City and in the south. It was centered in the Pacific Ocean, 165 miles southwest of Mexico City. The earthquake lasted little more than a minute. No one was hurt. European Union leaders are demanding a ceasefire in Bosnia, and they want Serb forces to quit taking UN peacekeepers hostage. Serbs announced yesterday they would release their remaining 200 hostages, but later stipulated they would only exchange them for replacements. The Serbs want them to serve as protection against NATO airstrikes. Meanwhile, UN officials say a fuel embargo imposed by the Serbs has brought aid distribution to a halt in Sarajevo, Bihać, and elsewhere. In Sri Lanka, hundreds of people marched and called for an end to the violent ethnic conflict that has torn the country apart. More than 30,000 people have died in an 11-year war between government troops and groups that control a large portion of a northern district in Sri Lanka. Performers joined in with marchers carrying banners that called for an end to the fighting. Israeli and PLO leaders made no breakthrough in talks on their stalled peace accord. Talks held just hours after those leaders shared the Nobel Peace Prize. Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, Foreign Minister Shimon Peres, and PLO leader Yasser Arafat were jointly awarded the prize Saturday in Oslo, Norway. The Nobel Committee recognized the risks taken by all three men in their support of the 1993 peace accord. Oslo is where the historic accord was secretly negotiated, but many argue there is still no real peace in the Middle East.
We don't feel, as mothers, we don't feel that there is a peace or there is a changing in our life, you know. We are still living under occupation, we are still suffering, and we want real peace, not only talking, you know.
After the ceremony, the three leaders decided to meet again to continue talks about getting Israeli troops away from towns on the West Bank. But nothing was decided. Negotiators say Israeli and PLO delegations are going to meet again in Cairo Wednesday for further talks. In North Caldwell, New Jersey, an advertising executive was killed Saturday by a bomb in a package mailed to his home. Authorities say they don't know the motive for the bombing, which killed 50-year-old Tom Mosser. Police say they have no suspects. Mosser's wife, 2 children, and a neighbor child were at home at the time, but they were all unharmed. It has not been determined yet where the bomb was mailed from. An explosion in a luggage rack of a Philippine Airlines jumbo jet Sunday killed at least 1 person and injured several others. The Boeing 747 was en route to Tokyo from Manila via Cebu. The explosion happened about 190 miles from Okinawa, where the plane made an emergency landing. There were 273 passengers and 20 crew members on board. The cause of the explosion is under investigation. Thousands of air commuters are going to find it tough to get a flight now that American Eagle and other carriers are grounding their ATR aircraft. The decision comes a day after the Federal Aviation Administration banned all ATR flights under icy conditions. So American Eagle has grounded all 41 of its ATR commuter planes at Chicago's O'Hare Airport until they can be replaced. TW Express also decided to ground ATR planes in 9 U.S. cities. Dave Savini has the latest from Chicago.
Looks more like a parking lot with the FAA ban in effect, and parked is the way these commuter planes are going to stay as long as the weather remains icy and temperatures are below 40 degrees. Every single Chicago-based ATR 42 and ATR 72 commuter flight is canceled. 149 flights to be exact.
There's a high probability that they would be far better off trying another airline at this time because we simply cannot guarantee that we're going to be able to operate flights.
And that lack of guarantee has travelers scrambling for new ways to get home.
After they canceled the first one, they put me on another one. And then I got here and found that was canceled as well.
American Eagle officials are also scrambling to keep business, trying to find a way to get different kinds of commuter planes in, but different planes mean different mechanics and different pilots.
We're in the process of doing that. It's a very complex process.
A process that could take as long as a month and possibly the transfer of scores of Chicago-based ATR pilots who would have to go with their aircraft to airports in warmer climates.
Have you guys been told if you're transferred yet?
No, we haven't. Can't say anything more about it. The indefinite cancellation of flights doesn't bode well with the airport restaurants.
It's slow. Slow and no people, no business.
Even this cook had nothing to do, as the restaurant outside the American Eagle boarding gates was practically empty.
Would it be normally full right now?
Absolutely, yeah. Right now it's like 11:30. We have big lunch rush.
Oh, you have about 2 customers over there.
Exactly.
You guys fighting for the table?
No.
And with a cold Chicago winter ahead of us, airline officials say you can expect these commuter planes to remain parked out on the tarmac, at least until they can bring some new planes in. Meanwhile, there's no problem finding a seat here, as the normally busy American Eagle terminal looks more like a ghost town. In Chicago, Dave Savini.
When we come back, tropical birds from the endangered rainforests come to Minnesota. We'll tell you about the Birdman. And then coming up later, sexual harassment. Women are not the only victims. Any good classroom teacher knows the secret to success is preparation, perhaps some wishful thinking, and sometimes the ability to just wing it. In Minnesota, one teacher relies heavily on winging it to get his lessons across. He's known as the Birdman, and his life's work is for the birds. Here's Rick Kupchella from our NBC affiliate in Minneapolis.
I just gave him a little boost to get out.
It's a rare sight to behold, quite literally, unless, of course, you live with Dave Flom. Here, on average, about 10 times a month, there's another rarity hatching in his home.
They're completely helpless. They can't take care of themselves at all.
For 30 of his 40 years, Dave's made a point of taking care of these creatures, starting with pets. He's now hatched a small business. There are macaws, African grays, and cockatoos, too. The feature of his flock is a bird as blue as any you've ever seen.
Now he's out. He's loose.
This is a hyacinth macaw.
The blue one with the yellow eyes, his name's Samson. There's approximately 3,000 to 5,000 of those in the world. That's how endangered they are. There's 3,000 to 5,000 in the whole world. He just doesn't want any part of going in his cage right now.
Sometimes it's hard to figure out who's really in charge at Dave's place. The birds have clear run of the house.
Let's sing, Chico.
Everybody loves the birdies up.
She got stuck. How are you?
When they're not flying through the living room or talking up a storm, they're wrestling on the rug or seeking out snacks.
You can't have your dinner yet. No, here, you give me that. Come here. Come here.
Fact is, you can find birds at Dave's place just about anywhere. And these natives of the rainforest are particularly fond of water.
He'll stay in there till there's no more hot water left.
Dave's decided to breed these birds in part because he's convinced it's the only way they'll survive.
It's real important that they do live with people. There's no place left for them to live. They have to interact with people. They have to become domestic.
His birds are what you might call exotic.
They're just starting to get their eyes open. I'm told they're ugly at this age. I think they're just cute.
They come from Africa, from islands off the coast of Australia, and from the rainforests of Brazil.
Let me get the next one out.
Their habitat internationally is on the decline. Dave grows them in small incubators in his home with the hope they'll learn to survive in new places, among people, and that demand for capturing their cousins in the wild will decrease.
These guys are coming up on 6 and 7 weeks old.
There are up to 150 hatches here every year.
It's no different than a farmer.
His life is totally dedicated to the birds.
A farmer's really tied to what he's doing, and in a sense, we're farming parrots. It's 24 hours a day. He likes to go for rides.
Dave's farm consists of several different breeding sites around the cities. In all, 200 pairs of breeding birds, some so rare they command prices near $40,000 a pair.
Okay, we can go.
He uses some of these birds, like Chico and Samson, as little bird ambassadors to children throughout the cities. A carload of birds on the highway to Hugo is an education all its own.
Watch the what the parrots outside. Yeah.
Now, Chico, when we get there, probably won't say a word now. She'll be all sung out by the time we get there.
Rock-a-bye, my baby.
At school, the show starts before anyone gets inside the building.
Come on, dude. Hey, do you have Igor?
I got Igor in my coat.
Here in a room full of elementary school kids, the birds teach children about the planet and the rainforests in a way no book can.
Samson. Anybody know where Africa is? That's his original home. Does anybody know about deforestation? Do you know what that means?
In schools throughout the city, these birds have been used to teach and entertain children. In living rooms throughout the cities, they bridge the gap between the rainforest and home. It is perhaps unusual to find them on the road to recovery so many thousands of miles from their natural habitats, but it's one way of ensuring they have somewhere left to live.
I guess if you can breed tropical birds in Minnesota, you can do just about anything. That was Rick Kupchella reporting. All right, here's today's national forecast as we take a look at the weather map. It's getting chilly as cooler temperatures hit much of the country. Snow showers and wind chills down to an icy minus 40 degrees are going to hit the northern plains and upper Midwest. Rain and snow will fan across the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. In the Northeast, a winter bite is going to be in the air along with some snow. But in the Southeast, look for thunderstorms and gusting winds. Now here's the rest of our forecast as we listen in on a Summit of the Americas concert from Miami. Well, the Heisman Trophy got handed out yesterday, and another running back hurt, of course. One of the greats.
No surprise here. Yeah, Rashaan Salam out of Colorado definitely had the credentials and the numbers, and this is not a surprise selection at all, Tom. Not at all. University of Colorado running back Rashaan Salam named the winner of the 1994 Heisman Trophy on Saturday. Salam, the first running back to win the award since 1988, when Barry Sanders picked up the Heisman. Now, Salam easily outdistanced Penn State running back Kajana Carter and Alcorn State quarterback Steve McNair. Rashaan Salam's numbers for 1994, 2,055 rushing yards to go along with 24 touchdowns. On to the NFL, where the Cleveland Browns went into Dallas looking for respect on Saturday, and the Browns and their fans earned the respect of the two-time Super Bowl champs. Late in the first quarter, Vinny Testaverde launched a 2-yard scoring strike to Michael Jackson in the corner of the end zone. We're all tied up 7-7. The Browns picked up 13 points off the foot of kicker Matt Stover, 4 field goals and an extra point. The Brownies built a 16-7 lead. Now, the Cowboys got to within 16-14, only to see Troy Aikman fumble a snap with 3 minutes to go. Then down 19-14 and out of timeouts, Aikman found Jay Novacek down to the Cleveland 1-inch line with the clock running out, but that clock ran out on the Super Bowl champs. Cleveland hung on to win at Dallas 19-14. Saturday's other NFL contest saw the Detroit Lions keep their playoff hopes alive by squashing those of the Jets. The Jets got Art Monk his record on the very first play from scrimmage. Monk now has caught passes in 178 straight games, one better than Steve Largent, the former All-Pro, now Congressman-elect. Second quarter, the Lions push their lead to 9-0. Barry Sanders catches his first touchdown pass of the season. Sanders, a busy man Saturday, 127 yards on 23 carries to go along with his touchdown. 18-7 Lions was the final. College basketball next, where 9th-ranked Duke made it 6 straight wins over number 23 Michigan on Saturday night. The Dukies ready for the confrontation on Tobacco Road. This is first half action. Duke's Eric Meek is anything but a ferocious jam for Meek. He finished with 11. Cherokee Parks led the scoring parade with 16 points, including this 3. Duke downs Michigan once again 69-59. On the top 10 scoreboard, UCLA over Cal State Fullerton. It was Arkansas beating Murray State. Kansas gets a scare at North Carolina State. UMass over Maryland. Elsewhere, Florida over Texas. Kentucky beat BU. And again, Duke over Michigan 69-59. On to the NBA, where things were not going well for the Chicago Bulls at Milwaukee. Under 10 seconds to go in the ball game. It's the big dog, Glenn Robinson, on the hoop and the foul, putting the Bucks up 106-103. Now, the Bulls had 2 chances to tie, but Scottie Pippen and Tony Kukoc both came up empty, and the Bucks snap a 9-game losing skid, 106-103. Now the rest of the scores from the NBA.